Hi, welcome back to another video feature of the Immersive Worlds Handbook. Today I am in San Diego, California at what is for me a very famous and significant space, and this is Westfield Horton Plaza. If you follow architectural news and pop culture news, you know that unfortunately in 2015 one of the key persons behind this amazing space, the designer John Jurdy, passed away. And for me, the space is significant for quite a few reasons. For one, I would say that Jurdy was definitely one of the most prominent and important architect designers to have transformed urban space around the world. A second significant reason is the fact that David Rogers, who is one of the principals at the Jurdy Group, was interviewed in the Immersive Worlds Handbook. And this is certainly one of the spaces, I think, that launched the popularity of the Jurdy Group. Certainly we would also point to Universal City Walk as another space that was also prominent in terms of the transformation of how we think about urban space, lifestyle spaces, and the merging of some very interesting design and architectural and spatial and pedestrian flow elements within one space. So for me, Westfield Horton Plaza is a point on the map of consumer architecture that absolutely has to be looked at, addressed, and analyzed. So in this video feature, I will take you through this intriguing space and talk to you about some of the features that have made this, I think, one of the most important architectural consumer spaces in the last 30 or so years. So let's go around and take a look at Westfield Horton Plaza. Okay, so just here, I wanted to give you a sense of I think what for me is the key unique feature about Horton Plaza. And again, this was built in 1985, and at the time I think had a lot of critics, and I think you'll see as I pan around here and show you some of the video why people were so critical. So let's take a look here. So you can certainly see that just the design here, I might actually say it's somewhat uncanny, and the uncanniness is the fact that prior to this particular mall and this design, we used to think of malls as being more sterile spaces, and so you would get the anchor stores, and essentially you still have the anchor stores here, you have the Nordstroms down here, and then just down here you have the Macy's. But one thing you notice is quite different among many things is that you don't have the typical box store on one end of the mall, and then on the you walk down a rectangular corridor, and then on the other end of the mall, completing the loop, you have the other box store. What's different here, as you can see from the layout, is this rather labyrinthine structure where you, in fact, in some cases are lost. You go up one staircase or escalator and you're led into a space, and the spaces differ in terms of the composition, so the flow, I think, is quite unique here. And I was reading an old interview with John Jurdy, who was talking about, he said what he tried to do in the space was to pay attention to empty space, and in a sense you could say it's not the walls so much that matter, but it's the approach to empty space, and I think you really do see that here. So another thing we can immediately identify, I think, is the approach to color, right? I mean, a lot of malls prior to Horton Plaza were, as I said earlier, in terms of the spatial layout, were very sterile, and so you could see here that is quite a contrast to your typical malls. I think you can make this out here, the space just in front of the Macy's. And I'm going to take you down also into the food court area where you can see some of the signage that in a more muted sense I think is reminiscent of what you might also see more dramatically at Universal City Walk. So let's take a look around a bit more here at Horton Plaza. Okay, and I'm going to show you another example then of the interesting approach to space. And I was just simply trying to get from this point here to the food court area here. I wanted to walk near the Panda Express, as you can see. The problem is, and I guess I shouldn't say it's a problem again, it's the design to space, I think, that gives this that Girardi sense of placemaking. But what I have to do then, as I'll take you through here, is I have to walk down these stairs and go to the left. So not total inconvenience. The other thing I would point out here in terms of creating a social space is you could see as we walk through here opportunities for people watching abound. So it's I think really an incredible use of perspective and gives, I think, the guests an ability to look out and to see so much in terms of the public thoroughfare space. And the other thing that you might identify if you've watched my video on Pedestrian in Rotterdam, which is also designed, as you might know, by the Girardi Group, is that there is an emphasis on this thoroughfare, this space, public space that cuts through the center of the malls, and again gives opportunities to create that sense of the social that is so important, and I would say monumental in terms of any public consumer space. As I was walking here, as you might see above the Banana Republic, again, the very eclectic use of color and mosaic and pattern, I was actually thinking of two things. One, I was thinking of the significance of the weenie that Walt Disney always talked about in terms of theme parks, something that draws your eye and beckons you to come in a certain direction. And then also, just for me, the colors and just the design and layout are somewhat reminiscent of, I believe it would be Luna Park, if I'm remembering correctly, at Coney Island. And again, I think just a really remarkable use of design here right at the center of Westfield Horton. And in terms of talking a little bit more about pedestrian flow, I find this intriguing as well. So I'm looking at the bridge here, and as you can see, this is an interesting pathway that connects this side of the mall to the other. What I want to do is actually find that and cut across the mall. Now again, I could do that right here, but what I find intriguing about the design is the fact that it's not immediate apparent, to me at least, how I get to the top bridge there. And again, in a typical Stero mall, you would have all the escalator banks in one area, so you just go up and down, and it's very easy, it's convenient for the guest. But I think what's cool here is the fact, again, if I want to navigate this space, I have to seek it out. I have to find it. I have to discover it a little bit. And as you can see just here, we have more pathways that fork off. There's a sign for the elevator. There's this ramp going up here, and then there's an escalator. So it's not immediately apparent to me exactly which way I go. So, in terms of practicality and flow, even though I've mentioned the fact that indeed it's sometimes challenging for one to find one's way, of course, once you're on any of the various levels, it's quite easy to flow through and obviously see all the stores. And I think when you have forking pathways and dead ends, as you see here, I think actually it makes for a more exciting experience of that space, not unlike maybe a theme park in which you think about that sense of discovery that makes the space all the more exciting for you. So it just occurred to me as I was standing here at this, I guess you could say, vista point, that I'm reminded, the sight lines, when we see the influence of a space like this onto future spaces. I was thinking of Crystals in Las Vegas, which is part of City Center, and I do have some videos that focus on the architecture and design of Crystals, which is certainly not associated with John Girardi and his group, but I think when you look at some of the sight lines, as you can see here, and compare those two Crystals, you could see that dramatic sense in which your eye is taken in so many directions. Again, I might say that the space just above the Banana Republic there, then in a sense that functions as a weenie. But on the other hand, if you just look at depth and the sense of space, as our eye is brought down. And then as we come to this center section, again with the weaving pathways here represented by the various bridges and escalators as well, and staircases and so forth, your eye wanders. And I think if you go back to that article that I read, this is the point of what John Giardi was talking about in terms of the use of space and trying to take the guest off, if you will, metaphorically, the beaten path by moving the guests throughout the space in various ways, using, I think, an aesthetics of unpredictability in terms of that design. Well, and another thing I was going to comment on, and it's quite obvious, but I just noticed it now, is of course the fact that Horton Plaza is smack dab in the middle of downtown San Diego. And if you just look at the top, the sightlines here above the mall buildings proper, you can see all the skyscrapers, the hotels, the business buildings, the various other architectural spaces beyond the mall itself. And I think in a sense what I like about this particular space is the fact that it is nestled within downtown, and it does, in a sense, as you're inside it, offer the opportunity for a guest to experience what is an urban enclave, if you will, metaphorically protected from the rest of the city. Okay, so I wanted to take this opportunity actually to read you what I thought was a very telling article from the San Diego Union Sunday paper back in 1982, and this was actually linked to the San Diego Union's obituary of John Giardi. And I thought this was really exciting because it gave me some perspective. And again, this was written while the planning was going on and Horton Plaza was being discussed and created and so forth. And just at the top of the article, it says here, according to a new model, Horton Plaza Center is shaping up as a pedestrian adventure land. And so, you know, the fact that they're talking about the sense of adventure that a guest will experience, I think you see as significant in terms of the design. And specifically, I wanted to read you a quote here, if I could find it. This is a quote of John Giardi, who was talking about how you could create in the space of a shopping mall the excitement that you might anticipate or expect in a theme park. Okay, and here's the section, so let me read this to you. Giardi's enthusiasm for togetherness is now coming into play. He happily identified himself with Carl Jung's concept of synchronicity and cited Disneyland as the perfect example. Said he, "Watch the crowds. The minute they pass through the turnstiles, go under the first bridge and start down Main Street, something remarkable happens. Dads put their arms around moms, the kids grab each other's hands, and everyone is saying, 'Look at this, look at that, look, look.' Everyone grows a smile and immediately wants to buy something. They want a piece of it. They want to capture it. The whole day is enhanced by a feeling of togetherness, not only you with your own, but you related to the larger group. A camaraderie emerges, perceptions are heightened, food tastes better, the sunlight has a certain sparkle, and the old ache temporarily goes away." The ruminating architect concluded, and this I think is the key point in this piece. "I claim you can create that sense of community not only in amusement zones like Disneyland. You can patch it to ordinary real life, so in effect it becomes a whole new alternative possibility of lifestyle. Go out and have an adventure instead of staying home. Create infinite exploration complexes." And then a little bit later, also significant considerations today, remembering such successes as Ghirardelli Square in San Francisco, Giardi says, "We have discovered that people don't want to walk in perfectly straight lines. It's boring. They like to curve and angle, dodge and weave. They like to walk up and down gentle inclines in small groups of steps. They like to have conversations right in the middle of crowds, to hear water, to stop for a minute, and to watch some street scene unfold. Observe a mime or listen to a musician or just slide out of the way to a corner and let it all blow by." So, you know, what I thought was important about this piece is that sense of taking the inspirations from a space like Disneyland and applying them to a shopping mall. And if you've seen some of the videos I've done over the years, you know that I've more and more begun to see that spaces are merging. We have multi-use spaces, we have spaces that combine techniques of museums in a shopping mall, or take an inspiration from a theme park and use that in a shopping mall, and all sorts of other variations. So for me, it is significant to think about how you could approach space in such a new and revolutionary way. And if you come to Horton Plaza today, perhaps you won't think of it as being such a revolutionary space, but certainly in 1985 it absolutely was cutting edge and avant-garde, and I think still today remains such an inspiration for thinking about consumer public architecture. I hope you've enjoyed this video feature here in San Diego at the famous Horton Plaza, and please come back for additional video features of the Immersive Worlds Handbook.